My name is Alex, and I never thought a pair of shoes would be the source of my nightmares. It all started when I purchased a limited edition pair of Nike sneakers from an online auction. They were said to be one of only 10 pairs ever made, and I couldn't resist the allure of owning something so exclusive. Little did I know that my obsession with these sneakers would plunge me into a horror beyond imagination. The moment I received the package, I felt a chill down my spine as if something was amiss. I unwrapped the shoes carefully, and as soon as I held them, a wave of unease washed over me. The shoes looked ordinary enough except for an unusual symbol on the tongue. It was a distorted version of the iconic Nike swoosh, almost like it was melting. I tried to shake off the feeling and decided to wear the shoes the next day. However, that night I started having vivid nightmares. I found myself wandering through a dark, abandoned factory, the smell of rubber and decay overwhelming my senses. Each night the dreams grew more intense, and I began hearing faint whispers, urging me to return to the factory. Despite my fear, I couldn't resist the compulsion to investigate. The factory seemed vaguely familiar, as if I had been there before, but I couldn't recall when or why. Following the sinister whispers, I stumbled upon a hidden room filled with discarded shoes. They were all Nikes, but something was dreadfully wrong with them. The symbols on the tongues were grotesque, twisted versions of the original logo. As the days passed, I became more withdrawn, unable to concentrate on anything except the mysterious factory and its haunting secrets. My mind felt like it was slipping away, consumed by an inexplicable obsession with these cursed shoes. Even during the day, I could hear faint footsteps behind me, and when I turned, there was no one there. One evening, while attempting to unravel the mystery, I discovered an old news article from years ago. It reported a tragic incident in the same factory. A worker had died after an accident on the assembly line. His name was Nicholas, and he had been designing a new line of shoes, which never made it to production. That's when it hit me. The symbol on my sneakers was a distorted version of Nicholas's signature. It seemed like the spirit of Nicholas had somehow infused itself into the shoes, seeking revenge or something even darker. I knew I had to get rid of them, but every time I tried, I found myself unable to part with the cursed sneakers. They had an insidious hold over me, and I couldn't escape their malevolent influence. I sought help from a paranormal investigator, Dr. Simmons. He delved into the history of the factory and confirmed my worst fears. The shoes were cursed by the tormented spirit of Nicholas. Dr. Simmons warned me that the only way to break free from the sinister grip was to confront the spirit and release him from his torment. Together we returned to the abandoned factory, a place filled with lingering sorrow and despair. As we ventured deeper, the atmosphere grew suffocating, and the temperature dropped dramatically. Strange, ghostly figures began to manifest, appearing and disappearing like phantoms in the mist. Dr. Simmons performed a ritual to communicate with Nicholas's spirit. His voice echoed through the darkness, seeking understanding and forgiveness. Suddenly, the whispers intensified, and the shoes around us started moving, almost as if they were alive. They circled us, and the air crackled with energy. Then, a haunting figure emerged from the shadows. The spirit of Nicholas himself. He was filled with anguish, his eyes hollow and sorrowful. Dr. Simmons pleaded with the tormented soul, explaining that I was an unwitting victim, and that the shoes needed to be released from their curse. The spirit hesitated, torn between his desire for vengeance and the possibility of finding peace. In the end, he looked at me with a haunting gaze and nodded slowly. Dr. Simmons performed a final ritual, and as the words of release echoed through the factory, the shoes disintegrated into dust, setting Nicholas's spirit free at last. The factory fell silent, and the malevolent presence that had plagued me vanished. The nightmares ceased, and the weight of obsession lifted from my soul. I was free, but I will never forget the horror I experienced, a dark tale of haunted sneakers and the malevolent spirit of a man trapped in his own creation. Now, whenever I see a Nike logo, I can't help but wonder if there are other cursed shoes out there waiting to ensnare unsuspecting souls, like I once was. The soul collector's victims, forever trapped in the twisted world of a tormented spirit. As the rain fell heavily against the broken windows of the abandoned Nike factory, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Reluctantly, I stepped inside, my heart pounding in my chest. The place had been closed for decades, but the rumors of strange occurrences persisted. Ignoring the feeling of unease, I began my exploration. The factory was vast, and every step echoed through the empty halls. Broken machinery lay strewn about like forgotten relics, and the air was thick with dust and decay. The dim light from my flashlight cast eerie shadows on the walls, making the place seem more menacing than ever. My curiosity led me deeper into the factory, drawn to a peculiar sight, a room filled with old, decaying sneakers. It was as if time had stood still in this place. The sneakers were covered in a thick layer of grime, but they seemed oddly untouched by the ravages of time. Suddenly, a faint whisper echoed through the room. It was as if an invisible force had rooted me to the spot. In a panic, I tried to turn away from the room, but my body refused to obey. The whispers intensified, the voices growing angrier and more menacing. I felt an oppressive presence surround me, suffocating me with its malevolence. As the voices grew louder, the sneakers in the room began to tremble, as if possessed by some unseen force. They started levitating, hovering in the air, and then shot toward me like projectiles. I shielded my face, but the sneakers passed right through me, sending a chill down my spine. A cold breeze swept through the factory, causing the temperature to plummet. I could see my breath as I shivered in terror. The factory seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy, and I could no longer deny that something supernatural was at play. With great effort, I managed to break free from the force that held me in place and stumbled backward, but the horrors were far from over. As I continued to explore the factory, I stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within its bowels. Inside, I found a circle of candles and strange symbols etched onto the floor. The air was heavy with an otherworldly presence, and I sensed that this place held a dark secret. The candles flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and a feeling of dread washed over me. As I tried to leave the chamber, the door slammed shut with a deafening thud, trapping me inside. Panic consumed me, and I frantically pounded on the door, screaming for help, but my cries went unanswered. In the flickering candlelight, I saw something move in the corner of the room. It was a figure draped in tattered Nike clothing, its face obscured by darkness. My heart pounded in my chest as the figure approached, moving with an unnatural grace. "You shouldn't have come here," a voice echoed, sending shivers down my spine. "This place is cursed, and now you're trapped." Terror gripped me as I realized that the figure before me was the ghost of a factory worker, bound to this place by some malevolent force. The spirit spoke of a tragedy that had befallen the factory years ago, a terrible accident that claimed the lives of many workers. As the ghost recounted the events of that fateful day, the room filled with an overwhelming sorrow. The restless souls of the deceased workers sought revenge, and anyone who dared trespass on the factory grounds became ensnared in their malevolent grip. Desperation consumed me as I pleaded with the spirit for mercy. I promised to spread the truth about the factory, to share the story of the lost souls who now haunted this place. Slowly, the spirit's anger seemed to subside, and the oppressive atmosphere in the room lifted. With a final warning, the spirit vanished, leaving me alone in the haunted chamber. I wasted no time and fled the factory, vowing never to return. As I ran through the rain, soaked streets, I knew that I would carry the horror of that night with me forever. And so, the abandoned Nike factory remained, a grim reminder of the tragic past and the souls that still roamed its empty halls, forever seeking solace in the afterlife. I've always been a sneakerhead, an avid collector of rare and limited edition shoes. Nike was my ultimate passion, and I'd travel far and wide to get my hands on their exclusive releases. One day, an urban legend caught my attention, a pair of cursed Nikes that were said to bring unimaginable horror upon those who possessed them. Skeptical but curious, I delved deeper into the tale. The story began in the heart of Beaverton, Oregon, where the Nike headquarters stood tall and imposing. Rumors circulated that a secret project had gone horribly wrong, leading to the creation of these malevolent sneakers. I couldn't resist the lure of such a chilling tale, and with a group of like-minded friends, we set off on a pilgrimage to the birthplace of these cursed kicks. Upon arriving in Beaverton, we encountered whispers among the locals, hinting at the horrors surrounding the Nike company. They spoke of restless souls haunting the factory, vengeful spirits seeking retribution for their ill-fated involvement in the creation of the cursed shoes. But nothing could deter us. We were determined to find these legendary sneakers. Breaking into the abandoned Nike research facility, we felt an unsettling presence, as if eyes watched us from the shadows. The place had an eerie aura, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were intruders in a realm we shouldn't be meddling with. Ignoring our fears, we pressed on, knowing that the cursed Nikes awaited somewhere within those forsaken halls. After hours of searching, we stumbled upon a hidden chamber, and there, laid out on an altar-like display, were the infamous sneakers, the unholy souls. They seemed to pulsate with an otherworldly glow, as if possessed by a sinister force. Our hearts raced with excitement and dread, but the allure was too great. We couldn't resist trying them on. The moment I laced up those cursed Nikes, an inexplicable darkness surrounded us. The air grew thick with malevolence, and an eerie silence fell upon the room. Unbeknownst to us, we had unleashed a terror that would haunt us for the rest of our lives. As night fell, we began experiencing chilling visions and disturbing nightmares. Reality and nightmare seemed to merge, and we lost track of time. Whispers echoed in our minds, tormenting us with regret and despair. Each passing moment felt like an eternity as the cursed shoes engulfed us in their unholy grasp. Soon my friends began to vanish one by one, swallowed by an unseen terror. I could hear their anguished cries, but I was powerless to save them. The malevolence within the Nikes sought souls to claim, and it was clear that they wouldn't stop until they had consumed us all. I tried to rid myself of the cursed shoes, but they clung to my feet like a demonic attachment. They became an extension of my very being, forcing me to witness the horrors they had unleashed. I was trapped in a waking nightmare, tormented by guilt, fear, and the unbearable weight of the cursed Nikes. As the days turned into an indistinguishable blur of horror, I realized that the only way to break free from this curse was to return the cursed sneakers to where they had been created. Gathering every ounce of courage left in me, I journeyed back to the forsaken Nike facility. Once there, I found an ancient ritual that, if performed correctly, could break the curse. With trembling hands, I performed the ritual, chanting ancient incantations in hopes of cleansing the malevolence from the Nike. As the last syllable left my lips, the cursed sneakers disintegrated into a cloud of black smoke, and a sense of relief washed over me. But the horrors of that experience would forever be etched into my soul. I escaped the clutches of the cursed Nikes, but the memory of that harrowing encounter will haunt me till the end of my days. Nike, once a symbol of athleticism and style, became forever tainted in my mind. A company that dabbled in forces far beyond human comprehension, leaving a trail of darkness in its wake. The unholy souls, a cursed reminder of man's hubris, serve as a chilling warning that some secrets should remain buried and some shoes should never be worn.